Hello everyone, welcome to Basically Neda. I'm Neda, and this video is my beginner's fantasy recommendation. One of my followers had asked me to recommend her a fantasy novel for a beginner, and I decided that I should just make a video about it for whoever wants to know about beginners fantasy. So, my first book that I'm going to talk about is for the classical readers. If you are a classical reader and you want to get into fantasy, I would say start with The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the prequel to Lord of the Rings. This is not as dense as the Lord of the Rings or all the other classical fantasy novels that are out there. It goes pretty fast and you get the gist of what fantasy is really like, and if you like this, then you can pick up the next series in a fantasy novel or whatever fantasy that you want to try from another series. So that one's a good one for starting. The second one that I'm going to talk about is for people who like heist stories and action stories. This one would be The Final Fantasy by Brandon Sanderson. It is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy, which is Mistborn Era 1. And it is a high fantasy, but it doesn't read the same way as all the classic high fantasies would. It's not really dense, it's really fast paced. The characters are moving really fast, the magic system is really easy to understand, and it's fun to read, basically. So if you want to get into something that is heist, action-packed, and there's a little bit of YA-ness into it, but not really. It's just because there's one of the main characters is a teenager, and the rest are all like adults. So it's I would say older teenagers would also like this, but this is mostly for adults. The third book that I'm going to talk about is for the literary people, literary dystopian readers. So if you like that genre and you want to get into fantasy, I say pick up the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. It is the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. It is my favorite series next to the Mistborn series. And I would say, if you like literary dystopian, then this is for you. This is more of dystopian fantasy kind of thing. You follow this 3 different females in 3 different ages. The beginning of it starts with the oldest of these females, and she is in her mid-early 40s. She walks home and sees that her son is murdered and her daughter is missing. And the story goes from there, and they have magical abilities that they cannot share with the society because the society is shunning them. And it's called the 5th season because all these earthquakes and different kind of things happened out of nowhere. Like, you could be walking and there's an earthquake, and then there's a giant crack in between you and the tree that was over there. So yeah, if you like this kind of thing, then pick this one up and get it. You can see if you like fantasy, like this kind of fantasy. And so the next one I'm going to recommend is for people who, wait, let me see. Yeah, people who like mystery, like Sherlock Holmes kind of thing. I would say if you like that, then pick The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. That book is about this librarian, professional spy who works for this mysterious library that collects different books from different realms that are going to be destroyed. And we follow her and her new assistant go to an alternative London to get this dangerous book, retrieve it, and bring it back to this library. But when she gets there, it's already stolen, so she has to find it. In this world, there's fae, vampires, and werewolves. So it's very much like, okay, it's a fantasy steampunk mystery. And if you like that kind of thing, like the mystery part, then pick this one up. It's very fast, easy to read. Everything goes fast. It's not really like a high fantasy thing that would take forever to finish. And yeah, the next one that I'm going to talk about is if you just want a cozy book, just a cozy book, that would be Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. So this one is about an orc who has now retired from her fighting years and is going to open up a coffee shop. And we follow her to what she needs to do in order to open the coffee shop, the people she meets, how she reacts to society, and all the things that she needs to do for it. Yeah, this one is a very cozy one. If you like you want to get into a cozy fantasy, I would say this one is. The sixth book that I'm going to talk about and that I'm going to recommend is for those who like humor and want to get into fantasy. And this would be A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. Yes, this is a bit of YA, but it doesn't read YA, and it's really fast-paced. I think it's about 300 pages. It's really funny, and it's really good. It's about this 14-year-old who lives with her aunt, and she can magically do things with dough. And she wakes up one day to go start the bakery and finds a dead body. And everybody thinks that it's her fault because she has magic. And every time that she tells them, okay, I only work with dough, I have no idea how this person died, I can't do that, nobody believes her. And she ends up trying to prove her innocence throughout this novel. And there is a very funny sourdough starter. There's also a funny gingerbread. That's all I'm going to say about this book. So yeah, go read it. It's really funny. You won't feel like you're reading YA. It doesn't feel like YA at all. And yeah. So the seventh book I'm going to recommend for people to start into fantasy is for people who like gangster books, gangster movies, those kind of thing. And that would be, nope, this way. Oh, I'll just say it. Jade City by Fonda Lee. It is the first one of the Greenbone saga. It is fantasy, but it is gangster fantasy. It's like kung fu. Just very fast-paced, very action-packed. And it's about two families in this world and this city called Zhonglu, which is Asian inspired, I think like Hong Kong inspired fantasy. And yeah, they're against each other. They want to get each other's territory, and they can do magical things with jade. They have the ability to use jade to do different things, and they can fight with it. And yeah, it's very action-packed. Also, I tend to tell people that this is more of a soap opera or emotional roller coaster. So if you like that kind of things, pick this up. It's really good. I'm not saying in a negative way that it's an emotional roller coaster. No, it's really good. You are, one minute you're reading a scene about the family in their like dinner at the dinner table. The next thing, they're out there in an action situation. So it's never dull to read this book. This whole series was never dull. It was like fast, go. It was really good. And then lastly, I'm going to recommend two books for this one. If you are a historical fiction reader and you want to get into fantasy, these two books are the ones for you. I would say the first one that I'm going to talk about is A Master of Jinn by P. Jelly Clark. This one is more of a mystery fantasy, and there's nothing else into it, just mystery fantasy historical novel. And it is about a female detective during 1912 Cairo. There is a murder for this cult that were worshipping a jinn, and she now has to figure out how this murder happened. And yeah, there's magical things that are part of this, and it's a really good book. You should go try it out and see if you like that kind of things. The other book that I'm going to recommend is The Judas Blossom by Stephen Aryan. This one is 13th century Persia. The Mongols have taken over, and the Persian rebels are trying to get their country back. There isn't as much fantasy in this. You get all the magical stuff really at the end of this. And it was really fun to read. If you like historical fiction, this is one of those things that I would recommend people to start fantasy with. It was more historical fiction from the beginning, so you might actually be more interested in this. And the fantasy stuff comes mid to late part of the story, so I would say this would be more fun for those kind of things. Then you will understand, oh, this is what fantasy is like. Maybe I'll pick up something else in this kind of genre. So yeah, these were all my recommendations for beginners. If you have any other questions you want to ask me, put them in the comments down below and I can answer them there, or I'll make another video. If you have any recommendations, feel free to put them in the comments. And yeah, that's it. If you like this video, please press the like button. If you want to see more from me, please press the subscribe button. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.